at the end that says "nice hair"
Yeah,
to the person filling it out.
yeah.
When I hand it back to the students, several of them have thought that was a comment I left them. So I don't want any of the students to think that I'm sexually harassing them or hitting on them.
It's just a compliment.
So-
It's a compliment. It's a compliment that I designed
You're
for the
complimenting
faculty.
my hair.
I'm complimenting your hair. I changed it up a lot. That's what I started with, and so I started again with it this year.
But
I can change it up to whatever I
It
want.
actually took him until like the third time. He's like he just keeps talking about hair.
Did he have nice hair?
He's got great hair.
He's got great hair. Yeah.
I mean, so
I do not. Yeah.
ooh, we're 5 minutes out.
I need to build music into the OBS stream so you can play it in, because I'm sure it's coming over your mic a little bit. But I like the playing music, you know?
And this is the Black Keys. And
Black Keys.
You had no idea, but they're from Akron.
Of course.
Akron locals.
I knew they were
The
from
Keys.
Akron, Ohio,
Not
the
to be
Black
confused with
Keys,
the White Stripes.
because this is where I'm totally from.
It is now.
It is now. I bought a house. I put down roots. We're here to stay.
I bought a house too.
You bought a house too. You have roots as well. Yep.
Not really, I guess, yet. I don't have a house. I'm still homeless. But,
You got a contract.
yeah.
Contract on a house, and you have a house that you.
I'm watering that seed. I don't have roots yet.
Yeah. Yeah, you got a seed in the ground. Yeah. Cool. Got another 4 minutes. And
We had somebody join us.
somebody's watching. 2 people watching. I will do the show
If,
for 2 people.
If you are here not by mistake, just drop in the comments who you are, where you're from. Let us know.
I'm gonna text the rest of the.
If you're one of our bosses,
I'm gonna text the medical students. Medical students have to do whatever I say because I'm the clerkship director. I'm just kidding. I don't play that card.
Why we at the playground? Do I have to play with his son? But it smells like ranch dressing.
What are you watching?
this is part of the
That's not
part
music.
of the music video, dude.
All right,
Relax.
there's Ryan.
Next show's coming up.
They're made of silicone, and they're called fruit rings. So
You know what
metal
I'm
rings
gonna
have
do?
been around since
What's
Do
that?
this. Don't worry about it. 3 minutes. 3 minutes to
3
live.
minutes till live, and we have somebody watching. Wally. .com. Show just. I think last time. It looks good though, right?
It looks good.
It looks good. We're in the White House.
Last time we were
Last
sitting in
time,
chairs in front of a cardboard
last time we were in a
box,
warehouse.
and now we're all the way to the White House.
we're all the way to the White House. Yeah. Ashley. Yeah, let me give that to Ashley. Ashley.
Your friends.
Whoa. I'm not supposed
Yeah,
to do that.
no, don't dance. We don't have that
Please don't
many
leave.
viewers.
I
so
promise I won't do it again. I
Don't,
promise I won't do
please
it
don't
again.
dance.
Oh goodness, but my laptop. I gotta fix one more thing.
Oh, there we go.
Apologies.
All right, welcome in. So today we're going to be talking about navigating the interview season and how to nail your applications for this interview season. So Steve has been at this a lot longer than I have, so he's going to lead us off. So what pearls of wisdom do you have?
So, your application, everybody freaks out about their step score, right? They think that's all that matters. I guarantee you we had people that we did not rank that had really good step scores. And we had people with significantly below average step scores that we ranked to match. There's a lot more to it than just the step score.
Absolutely.
Going forward for, I believe it's the M2s, M1s for sure, and M2s, step 1 score is going away. It's going to be a pass-fail exam. So, I mean, that's putting more emphasis on things like your personal statement, your activities, your hobbies, your research, who you are as a person. We have one less data point. So it makes all the other data points that we have within the application more important. So I'm going to talk about the data points that I like. If you have specific questions about anything in the application, how you should do something in your application, throw it in the comments and we'll address it for sure and go from there. Sound good?
Yeah.
All right. So what's part of the application? Throw something out there and we'll talk about it.
I'll start because it's going to
Yeah.
take a second for the comments. So I know for me, having done a fellowship as well, that I had to write more than one personal statement. And the rest of the stuff, I think, kind of like it's like filling out a form, right? You know, most of the application's pretty easy, but
Yeah.
that one was one that took me several weeks to hammer out. And even when I finally click submit, you know, I'm still like, I don't know, is this good? Is it not good?
Yeah.
So what matters in a personal statement?
So I can tell you what I like in a personal statement is I want to know about you. I want to know who you are as a person. I want to know what you like, what you don't like. I really want a little glimpse at your personality. And then when you come to interview with me at the dinner and when we're sitting over Zoom or how we're going to do it this year, I want to have some things I can talk to you about. Maybe find some things that I have in common with you or my other faculty do. So what I don't like is tell me generically how good you are. So I'm a hard worker. I'm always early. I'm a team player and use all those buzzwords. Well, shucks, I can get a thesaurus and fill a page full of buzzwords. You're impressed that I even know what thesaurus
That was
is,
so
aren't
happy.
you? Yeah. It's like thesaurus.com. Everybody's got one now. Give me something. I was a team player when when I was on rotation and I realized there's a lot of things going on and everyone's busy right now. And I looked for what I could do and I got the patient a blanket. And I realized that, hey, to be a good EM physician, I'm going to have to be a good team player. And sometimes that means stepping up and leading the resuscitation and being the hero. Sometimes that means helping a nurse with a Foley. Sometimes that means going and doing whatever I can to make the team better. And that's why I'm a good team player. Or I'm a hard worker because of this big project that was really important to me, really personal to me, that I put this time into, that I completed. Or give me an example of you doing those things. What I don't like, so there's what I like. I'm going to go back to a dislike. Like and dislikes, it works out well, right? I don't like, I like for you to tell me how medicine has changed you and how medicine has affected your decision to go into EM. But don't give me a lot of details about the medical aspect that changed you. I swear I had a personal statement last year that gave me detailed step-by-step blow by blow of a thoracotomy they observed. And as I saw the scalpel, he went between the fourth and fifth ribs, and he glided down, and then he dissected the intercostal muscles, and he put the spreaders in, and like half the personal statement was describing a thoracotomy to me. I've seen thoracotomies, right?
You have?
I have.
Really?
I have. I've seen a couple of thoracotomies. We've seen a lot of thoracotomies, right? I know I don't need a play-by-play of that. Don't tell me, and I get that was probably seeing that probably added humanity to you, and it was important to you.
That's important though, because I think that's important. So to that applicant, they were trying, I think, to show how significant of a moment that was to them.
Yes.
But what that does to the reader is we know how to do a thoracotomy. So when you work, 3, 4, 5 sentences, a full paragraph, 2 paragraphs on the intricacies of a thoracotomy, you know what I'm doing? I am losing interest
Absolutely.
in your application.
Absolutely. And I'm skimming at that point, and then I may skip over something that's important. So what to do instead? A better way, what I would like is maybe I've seen medicine as very machine-like. Like I'm working on a piece of machinery. I struggled to humanize it. When I was a medical student, I was in this resuscitation and realized that they were about to do a thoracotomy. And as they opened the chest in front of me, it made me realize that this is a human being. And as I saw the heart exposed, I realized that humanity, yada, yada, yada. So you can use snippets of it, but tell me how it affected you. Tell me something personal about you. It made me realize that this is what I wanted to do in medicine. So you can use medical stories. I like medical stories. I like stories from the department, from your rotations, from your undergrad shadowing that shaped you. But tell me about you. Don't tell me about this amazing patient that you saw, that you worked with. You can talk about how that patient affected you, and you can describe what about that patient you want to emulate. But really tell me about you. That makes sense?
Yeah, I like that. So let me ask you a question.
Ask me a question.
What do you think about including failures in a personal
I
statement?
love it. And you need to. if you have, so first of all, everyone has failures. I have a lecture that I give to EM residents. My residents will hear it eventually, and it's the lecture is you're not good enough because you're not. And I've learned this. I had a lot of emotional struggle that I went through to learn that. We all fail. In emergency medicine, we're set up for failure, right? You have to know everything about everything at a moment's notice because it may be life and death, and it's impossible to hold up that standard. So we all fail, and we've all had struggles. So I like to see that you've identified that I'm going to fail, and I've had to learn to deal with that already. And then sometimes you have big failures that are seen as quote unquote red flags in your application. Tell me about that in your personal statement, and tell me about how you've learned from it and you have grown from it.
So what if I failed step one?
If you have failed step one, first of all, any M1s, M2s that are watching, I guess M2s that have, or M3s, anybody, if you have a red flag in your application, so a step one failure, you failed a course, you failed something, you need to own it. First of all, don't make excuses for it. I failed because, I just didn't have good instructors, and my school had a really weak pathology teacher, and it's his fault that I failed. So don't blame others. Own your red flags, and then show me how you've grown from it. So you can tell me how you grew from it, but better if you tell me how you. First of all, if you have any red flags, tell me you grew from it. Okay, tell me you grew from it. Put that in there. But you can turn those weaknesses or perceived weaknesses into strengths if you show me how you grew from it. For example, if I told you, hey, listen, I know that I failed the course M2 year and I failed step one my first go round, but I realized then that I wasn't dedicated like I needed to be. I realized that I needed to buckle down, I needed to work harder, and then I did. And then I looked at your application and you failed the class third year and you barely passed step two. Are you going to believe me?
No.
Absolutely not, right? However, if you failed step one and you tell me, hey, listen, I realized I wasn't focused on what I needed to do. I refocused. I put all my energy into this. And then you rocked all your self exams and then you did really well in step two. You're telling me you grew from it, but two, you're showing me that you grew from it. And that is huge for me because you're not perfect. You're not good enough. You're going to make mistakes. As an attending, you're going to make mistakes, and you need to identify those and grow from those. So that red flag can be a positive for me because I've already seen, hey, you can take failures, you can take red flags, and you can grow from them, and you can become better from them. So any failures you have, red flags you've had, things you've overcome, absolutely put that in your personal statement, especially if you can show me you have grown from that.
Even if you can't show that you've grown from it,
Say you did.
Talk to me about it because if you think it's a red flag, then it's a red flag, and we're going to see it as a red flag when we review that application. So it has to be addressed. You can't just kind of try to sweep it under the rug and hope for the best. It's going to come up.
Yes.
So just put it out there, address it, and tell us how you've learned from it because we all have those issues. I'll tell you a personal issue. So. For me in medical school, I had a child as I started medical school, and that was pretty stressful, my first child. And I was also pretty active extracurricular-wise, so I was our class vice president, was on a bunch of committees, did a lot of things like that. And about, 6 months before it was time to take STEP, I realized that I was behind knowledge base wise from my classmates. I was able to cram for a test and pass a test, but that retention wasn't there, and I knew that I was going to be in trouble when it came time to take STEP. So I kind of felt like one of those guys that spins all the plates on the stage,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, these are all going to come crashing down here really soon. So I delayed my step one. I knew I wasn't ready for it, so I said, hey, I talked to the people at the school, backed it up a little bit, and ended up doing well on it. But then I needed to explain in my application why was there a delay in the test, and so I own that because I didn't put academics high enough on my list of priorities, and I paid for it, but I learned from it, and then I actually was able to show that I learned from it. So I think everybody, now that we're on this side of the table reviewing applications, it doesn't mean that we had perfect applications and never had issues. Okay, so we know that you guys have things that come up that you might struggle with certain things or might have some failures. That's fine. Everybody does. Part of this career, it's a tough career, is being able to adapt and overcome those failures. So,
And when I find that perfect application,
I see we got a question.
I
Keep
think,
talking.
yeah, when I find that perfect application, I start looking through it, and I'm really critical with the interview. I'm like, what? This person has something weird about them. They've got to be a weirdo. If they're perfect, I don't know, something's up. But yeah, on your red flags.
All right, so Daniel says, if you have prior experience in the
what's
ED
up,
as a
Dan?
nurse or paramedic, how should you include this in your personal statement? Also, for example, say, for example, story having been a trauma patient, should that be included?
I wouldn't get it too busy. So you want a single overriding message in your personal statement. You want me when I read your personal statement to come out of it and say, he is a hard worker. He is a team player. He is definitely dedicated to the profession. He's made the right decision. If you try to tell me all those things about yourself, it's going to get jumbled, and it's I'm going to take away from it. I'm going to get lost. I'm not going to take anything away from it. So I would find one of those things that really tell me about you as a person. I shaped my application in I want to be a team player. And so when I was on my ways, I tried to be a team player, and I tried to talk about, hey, I work hard to be a team player. And my non-slow letter, I talked to the guy and I told him, hey, listen, I'm trying to shape my application to show that I'm a team player. And so when I wrote my personal statement, I wrote about a resuscitation that I was in where everybody had to step up and do their part. And I was honored that I was able to get the stool and help somebody because I was able to participate in the team. And I realized that being a team player. So I had a medical career before medical school. I was a respiratory therapist for 8 years prior to medical school. And I didn't put that in my personal statement. It was on my application. They could see that, and it came up in some interviews. But my personal statement, I focused on one patient from medical school and one encounter that I had that really I was able to say, I am a team player. I'm going to make your team, if you match me, I'm going to make your team better. Because I saw that as one of my strengths, and I really wanted to highlight that. So, Dan, it sounds like you've got a lot of great experiences. Those will be in your application, and those may come up on interviews. Your personal statement, I would try to focus on one thing so that when I read it, I come away from your personal statement saying, Dan is dedicated to the specialty. And you could incorporate a little bit both in there. You could briefly mention, hey, I was a trauma patient and I realized that medicine is what I want to do. I want to help people. But then when I was a nurse, I was in several different areas. I worked ICU, and I got bored with having two patients and documenting eyes and nose. But then when I rotated on the ER, all of a sudden the diversity hit me, and the need to think quickly on my feet hit me, and I realized that I enjoy making decisions on limited information, that I'm good at that I thrive in that environment, and that's how I know EM is definitely for me. And then when I walk away from reading your application, I can say, wow, this guy has seen different areas in the hospital, and he has seen how we truly are in emergency medicine, and he definitely wants to do this specialty.
Yeah.
Did that answer your question, Dan? There's going to be a 30-second delay before you can comment,
Let us know.
but if it did.
Well, while Dan is typing, Matthew or Matt, I don't know what you go by, asked a question. If there is a hospital that you know is your first choice, how would you attempt to convey this interest through the application interview cycle? That's so that comes up with everybody. I think that's an important question. I would say the most important information I can give you regarding that is don't lie. So if there is truly your number one where you want to be, that's fine to convey. You can absolutely let people know, hey, I want to be here, and this is why I want to be here, and you're my number one. If you tell 2, 3, or 4 people they're your number one, kind of like dating 3, 4 people, it's going to blow up in your face. It's not good. It's a small community. People talk, and so I can tell you actual stories of people who have told multiple programs they're number one and that they're in love with them, and then end up having that found out when program directors talk to each other, and those folks tend to go unmatched.
Yes.
So don't lie to anybody, but if you know that there's a place you want to be, and especially if you're on a weight rotation, then sell it. Say, hey, I want to be here. I'm going to work hard. This is why I want to be here. And I think that's completely fine to tell people. If you maybe have 3 or 4 at the top and you're trying to decide, then I would say maybe keep those cards close to your chest until later in the process, once you've had time to interview at all those places. If you have a significant other or family, talk to them, and then at the end of that, if somebody stands out and you say, this is where I want to be, then convey that. You can write an email and say, I just want to let you know I had a great time at your program. I learned a lot. Give kind of like a personal statement, give some specific examples of why, and say, I just want to let you know that I'm going to be ranking you number one, and here's why. And that's absolutely fine to say, but just don't lie to people about it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Absolutely do not lie. So if you tell me I'm your number one program and then I don't match you, I know that you lied to me. EM is a very small community. Our paths are going to cross multiple times. Never sacrifice your integrity, because that will follow you. That can follow you for your entire career. It can keep you from matching an EM if you're found out during the interview cycle. But even if it works out for you and you still match an EM, you have tarnished your reputation for life. Anytime that I see your name, once I realize that you blatantly lied to me, I realize this person has integrity issues. EM is a very small, tight-knit community. Yeah, absolutely. Don't lie. Don't lie at all. If it's unfortunately right now, it's getting tough because you as students, do you know how many programs they're applying to now? It's like 50 and 60.
What are we up to now? How many programs are there? You guys can probably tell us more than we know.
There's around 300, I think, ish.
Wow. I think it was like 225 when we applied.
Yeah. So, and I applied to 30, and I was told to apply to 20, and so I applied to 30. And now they're applying to 50 and 60 programs. So I'm getting all these applications, and I don't know who's actually interested in me or who's just filling out their 50 or 60. So make personal connections when you can. If you really have a strong interest in Akron area and Summa Hospital, I'll throw my email address in the comments again, and you can reach out to me and say, hey, listen, I want to be in Akron. Now, if you are in, if you're in Los Angeles and you failed both your step exams and you failed them multiple times and you've got 3 DUIs and you email me and say, hey, I really want to be in Akron, please give me an interview, and you have no links to Northeast Ohio whatsoever, and you've never been to Ohio, well, don't lie to me then. Say, listen, I have a challenging application. I'm struggling to get interviews. I'm struggling to get away rotations. And I just want to be honest with you. I'm struggling, but I've learned from it. Show me how you've learned from it. I can't guarantee you an interview. I can't guarantee you an application, but reach out to programs where you want to be. Reach out to them and tell them why you want to be there, because it helps me. Because we're getting 2,000 applications. All of a sudden, I realize now this one is not a throwaway interview. Because if I'm gonna be ranked as your 12th program, I don't want to waste my time with that interview. If you tell me, if I really truly believe that you want to be in my area, in my location, I'm more likely to give you an interview. Does that make sense?
And Matt, so Matt said, no, I meant it sincerely. So that's we took it that way. We were just, as general advice, be sincere. So if you mean it sincerely, then let that program know. 100%
I told my number one was University of Tennessee, and I emailed them and said, hey, you guys are my number one. I want to be in Chattanooga. I want to be in Tennessee. You guys are my number one.
I did the same. And what time frame would you notify your program of that?
I did it right before rank lists were due. Don't pigeonhole yourself. Do not tell a program right now that they are your number one, because you're still going to see other programs. You're going to go on other interviews. You may tell me, hey, Summa is my number one, and then a couple months later you interview at Los Angeles or wherever, and you realize, oh no, this is where I want to be. And you're like, oh, but I already told those other guys they're my number one. Do they feel like I'm lying to them? And if you tell somebody that they are your number one and then you change your mind later, tell that program immediately. Reach out to them and say, hey, listen, I know that I said you're number one. I'm still ranking y'all really high, but I had a really great experience under here. I may not rank y'all number one. And then honestly, it doesn't change a lot. You don't have to tell somebody that they're your number one. I had a handful of people reached out to me this last interview cycle and said, hey, you guys are my number one. And it did not change our rank list.
Yeah.
It made me feel good. It made me feel really good, but it did not change our rank list.
No, absolutely. So, Richard, he says he's from NYITCom You know where that is?
No.
New York, I'm guessing, maybe. How negatively only having 2 slows instead of 3 would affect your application this year?
So this year, 3 slows will hurt your application. 3 emergency medicine slows will hurt your application this year. Every major EM organization has come out and said, be careful with away rotations, limit travel, limit your away rotations, limit the away rotators you accept. So if you have 3 slows, that means you went against CORD, you went against SAM, you went against all the major organizations. So really, this year is very unique. I understand that y'all were made to make difficult choices about what rotations you keep, what rotations you give up. A vast majority of students are sticking to this criteria, and if they have a home rotation, they are only doing their home rotation. So if you did 3 EM rotations and you submit 3 EM slows, I really think it's going to hurt your application this year. If you did 2, I would be honest, but try to be graceful and said, yes, I did 2. I know the recommendation was to do 1, but I knew I wasn't very competitive. I wanted to make sure another program saw me. I contacted them first and said, listen, I understand. I want to make sure all your home rotators have a rotation. I was honest with them and told them that I had another slow rotation, and they said that they would be willing to take me. So I made the decision to go ahead and take that second EM rotation. This is a unique year. That only applies to this year, but be careful.
And so Richard clarified, said, I think I missed that just 1 slow. So only having 1 slow. So just like he said, that's good. That means that you're listening to these recommendations. So 1 slow is in no way going to negatively affect your application as long as you do well in your away rotation and get a good slow. So just crush the one that you get, just like you would if you had 2 or 3.
Now this year, CORD has opened up the O slow. So it's a formatted slow letter that a non-EM program director can write for you. So get some O slows. You can put a couple extra O slows. So if you did really well in family medicine, and the family medicine, you got along really well with the family medicine program director, go find the O slow. I tell you what, I'll put a link on Akron EM later tonight to the OSLO website and ask them, say, hey, listen, this is a formatted letter of recommendation that emergency medicine uses, and this year a non-EM program can fill it out. So yeah, get a couple OSLOs on there, but ESLOs, I would only get 1, maybe 2 ESLOs. And if you do 2, be prepared to defend in interviews why you did the second EM rotation.
I like it. All right, guys, so tell us, throw us some questions here. Let us know what you want to talk about. Let's talk about interviews a little bit. So how would you, this is going to be new for everybody, how would you prepare for online interview season?
Yes. I don't know. I've never done it. So a couple of things. Prepare space. I've spent more money. It really, the amount of money I've spent on video stuff and to have this poor quality as a result is embarrassing. But
we're actually at
the White House. I'm using the whatever fancy camera they have at the White House, and not my little camcorder that I bought. You don't have to buy expensive equipment. That's not what I'm telling you to do. Have a room set aside, have a solid background behind you. I would encourage you to video-wise get a non-computer mic, so it can be your AirPods. AirPods, actually, the mic on those is pretty good, and the AirPod mic follows you when you talk. So that mic is actually pretty good. Use that mic, or even any kind of plug-in mic that you can plug into your computer and have either like a headset or just a mic in front of you. Pretty much every external mic, most external mics, if you buy like a super cheap mic, it won't be, but most external mics are better than the mic on your computer. So your audio will sound better. Your laptop webcam is fine. If you want to buy an external webcam, you can get those for like $50-$60. And the quality just brings it up a little bit. You don't have to do that by any means. The biggest thing is don't be like sitting on your bed with dirty laundry behind you, and like your kids fighting in the background. Your medical school probably has a room that you can use that'll be set up. We will probably try to set up something for our students so they can have some semi-professional stuff so they can look sharp. Just show that you tried. Show that you tried is the biggest thing. If you want video and audio tips, shoot me an email. Throw my email in the comments real quick if you would. Just StephenTHaywood@gmail.com. Shoot me an email and I can give you some minor tips, but that's not important. Just show that you put forth an effort. You've got a good, solid background of something behind you. You've got, still have your shirt and tie on.
I think that's important. So it's, to me, Steve's different because he, this is kind of his thing with all the video equipment, and it's the one way that his wife doesn't get mad at him for spending a lot of money.
She still gets mad at me.
She's probably watching right now. She still
Yeah.
gets
Hey,
mad.
Lindsay.
But that doesn't matter, okay? If you, I still owe a lot of money for medical school, so I get it. You guys are on loans. You don't need to go out and buy anything. But there is a difference to me, to use a sports analogy, between like practice and a game day. So when it's game day and you're actually there physically on an interview, you're wearing formal professional attire, and it's everybody's doing the things. Then it kind of feels like, oh, this is interview day, and you're kind of on your game. I think it's going to be easy to kind of, especially after your 10th, 12th, 15th interview, to
Do not do 15 interviews.
go through the motions. So try to bring your A game every time. Wear professional attire. Be in, like Steve said, at least a quiet room where you're going to be able to have full focus. The camera is the person, so look directly at the camera. Don't wander around and kind of, talk down around like this. You're talking to a human, even though you're using a computer. So just like you would in an interview, make eye contact and interact with that person just like you would in real life, even though it's going to be weird. It's going to be tough, and we get it. And your interviewers are probably, you're going to have a lot of old interviewers
Yes.
that have very little, way less than you guys, technical acumen. So
Yes.
they're probably going to be the weird ones. You guys are going to be the ones
Yes.
flying through it. So I wouldn't say, don't let that throw you off. Just
And I was
make sure
kind
you're
of joking when I said
professional.
don't do 15 interviews, but don't do 15 interviews. It will be easier for you to do more interviews with the video format, but it's still going to be mentally exhausting to do an interview. And eventually, once you've done so many, you're going to break down, and it's going to be hard to keep your game face on. And if you show up and you're obviously disinterested or you're obviously not in game mode, I'm going to think that I'm a throwaway interview, and I'm not going to waste my time ranking you. So find the programs that you really want to go to and set your, whatever your cap is. I think 10 was the recommendation when I went through, and honestly, I think 10's still a good number. Set those 10 interviews that you
don't
care about the
struggle-
most.
If you don't struggle to get to 10, if you get to 10, early on, you're going to match.
Yeah.
You're fine.
Yeah.
So
And choose your top
if
10
you're
and do
struggling-
those well.
Yeah. If you're struggling to get there, don't cancel interviews. But if you get to 10, then only keep the ones that you're really interested in if they're scheduled later in the season.
I would say if I was going to do one thing, AV, to step up your game, it's just get an external mic, any kind of external mic. Your AirPods work great. The cell phone earphones that have a microphone in those, if those hook to your computer, that actually works really well, and it's much better than your computer mic, and it will bring your sound up just a little bit, and subconsciously they'll be like, man, that guy sounded really good. He sounded better than the others. And that's a cheap thing. Everybody's probably got some cell phone earpiece that has a mic on it already, and use that, and that'll do wonders for your sound more than you realize.
Daniel said, during the interview, what are some positives and negatives you've seen over the years? So, for example, making or breaking an application.
What we just talked about was the biggest thing that I saw last year that sank people, that just caused us not to rank them or rank them. Honestly, the people we ranked at the bottom were the ones that we felt like that was a throwaway interview for them, that came in. And a lot of them were towards the end of interview season, but they came in disinterested. They came in and they didn't know anything about us, and it seemed like there was a burden for them to be there. And you got to think, don't waste your time on those interviews. Cancel them the week before, because those people, some of our faculty still kind of have a bad taste in their mouth. They remember those people and it's like, why did they waste our time? So that's, for me, the biggest thing that sank people in interviews was just acting disinterested. And some of it was, I'm sure, was just exhausted. People did too many interviews. And even if they really were interested in our program, after you've done 12, 13 of those, towards the end of interview season, you're exhausted. And it's tough to keep your game face on.
Yeah, and like Steve was saying, if you're just doing it just to get your numbers up and say, oh, statistically now I'm 99.97% likely to match, you're not. It's not any different, because if you come in and you act like you don't want to be at that program, they're not going to rank you to match. So even if you failed to match at every other place you'd already interviewed at, you're not matching here.
Yeah.
So if it's somewhere you have 0% interest in, then just, save everybody's time. Don't do it.
Yeah, it's a waste of an interview it's a waste of your time, it's a waste of our time, and there's somebody out there that probably really needed that interview slot that you took up. So I think 10's a good number. If you get to 10 and there's like one or two more you want to add on, I did 11, I think. So, if you're in that 12, 13, I think that's still okay. But once you get above that, you're going to get exhausted quick.
Absolutely. All right. Well, there's no questions right now, so I'm going to put you on the spot. So tell me,
Cool, man.
Tell me one thing in your application process that you feel like you messed up.
Ooh, something that I messed up. You really did put me on the spot. So I think I put too much. I put too much faith in step one. In hindsight, looking back at it, I realize that now, and I thought that a step score was all that mattered. And so I kind of relaxed a little bit more than I should have, especially looking back now and seeing how competitive some of the applicants are, and how highly I rank applicants that don't have fantastic step scores, but just were rock stars in other ways. I feel like it's really terrifying to look back on it now, because I was fortunate. I matched in my top choice, but I coasted a little bit more than I should have in my away rotations. I was just trying not to mess up. I wasn't trying to succeed. I was just trying not to mess up. Does that make sense? It worked out for me, but in hindsight, step one does not matter as much as you think it matters. I promise you that. How about you? What do you got?
Fair.
What do you got?
I had one ready.
Yeah, I figured you did, 'cause you asked me, so I
I
threw it back to you. Yeah.
So, for me, I think something I did was, so after an away rotation, I had kind of connected with the program director, and I think I really, like, now looking at it from the other side, I was really freaking annoying. Like, I reached out a lot, sent a lot of emails, kind of like pandering emails almost. Like, in retrospect, now I'm like, oh God, like, did I send that email? Like, that was a little gushy,
Yeah.
you know? So, I would say that if you felt like you connected with somebody, you did well. That speaks for itself. You don't have to constantly be reaching out to those people. We're still working clinically. We're doing other things. We have academic responsibilities. We appreciate it. We love to do this. We're doing it right now because we love you guys and we enjoy teaching. But don't be over the top.
Is that still
I was
cool to do
probably-
that thing? Is that
Yeah,
still a
probably.
thing?
That's like
Yeah.
Sammy Sosa.
Yeah, Sammy
Yeah.
Sosa. Oh, gosh. We're old.
It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, I totally agree. If you have questions, reach out. If you have anxiety, you can reach out. But if you're reaching out to me a couple times a week and saying, "Hey, I'm really anxious, just making sure everything's good. I haven't screwed up. Have I screwed up? I'm sorry if I've screwed up."
You just screwed up.
You just screwed up. You just screwed up. So absolutely, feel free to reach out, especially if any students that are from Neomed. I'm the EMIG advisor. My goal is to help you succeed. If that's at SUMA, if that's at Akron General, if that's at Cincinnati, whatever I can do to help you succeed, I'm willing to help you succeed. Please don't. With what we're saying, do not hesitate to reach out to me. That's what I'm here for, and I'm more than happy to do so. And students that are not at Neomed, I'm still happy to help you. EM's a very small community, so if I help you match at Denver, well, in 4 years you're gonna be a great ER doctor, and I want to be collegial with you. So I'm willing to help you in any way that I can. We've got a great program at SUMA. I'd love to have you here with us. But I want to help you in any way that I can. So I'm not telling you don't reach out to me. Please, if you have questions, concerns,
absolutely.
reach out.
And just be honest. If that's where you want to be, tell me.
Yes.
Honestly, we're here to teach, and if you are a medical student wanting to join the greatest specialty out there, emergency medicine, we're happy to help you do it. But don't feel like you need to come to us and say things that make us think, oh, well, you really want to be here. If you want to be somewhere else, just tell me. And we, like Steve said, it's a small community. We have friends all over the country and academic positions in different places, and we're happy to talk to you guys. And hey, well, I'm happy to put out a good word for somebody. But just come honestly with your questions and what your intent is, and we're here to teach, and we love doing it. So,
on that same vein, I'm going to be honest back with you. So if you tell me, hey, I really want to be at Denver, and I look at your application, first of all, you did not do great on my rotation, and your application's not a great application. Denver is a 4-year competitive program. I'm going to be honest with you and say, I don't think that's an option for you. You can send them an application, but we need to look at other places you may go. If you have not been given honest feedback to this point in medicine, I promise you, if you come to do my rotation, I'm going to give you honest feedback, and that can be tough. I've had students at the end of the rotation, I ask them how they did. I did great.